Thank you for joining us. Today we have an update on the Bearspaw South Feeder Main repair and impacts to citywide water service. We'll be hearing from Director of Capital Priorities and Investment, Francois Bouchard, and Medical Officer of Health with Alberta Health Services, Dr. Franco Rizzuti. We'll hear the remarks and then there will be an opportunity to ask questions after. I'll now turn it over to Director Bouchard.
Thank you, Jamie, and good afternoon. I'm Francois Bouchard, Director of Capital Priorities and Investment with the City of Calgary. I am joined today by Dr. Franco Rizzuti, Direct Medical Officer of Health with Alberta Health Services, who will be speaking about the water quality testing process as we approach that phase in restoring the feeder main to service. First, here's today's update on our progress on construction and restoring water service. I am happy to report that filling the feeder main continues to go well, and we expect to be finished sometime later today. Once the feeder main has been filled, we will perform testing to make sure water quality meets or exceeds all safety and quality standards. This step will take approximately 24 hours. When we have confirmed that the water is safe, we will move into stabilizing the system, including opening valves to reconnect the feeder main to the rest of the water distribution network. Once all of these steps are complete, we will lift water restrictions. Based on our progress so far, we expect this will happen sometime on Sunday. Since Stage 4 outdoor water restrictions went into effect, we have been running several non-potable water pickup locations for both businesses and residents. These will close once water restrictions are lifted. I will continue to bring updates daily until we announce the end of the restrictions. We want to make sure you have the latest information. Yesterday's water use was 489 million litres, including approximately 7 million litres used to fill the pipe. This means that our water usage is in the sustainable range. Thank you for keeping up with your water-saving efforts. I want to underscore the importance of your actions in keeping our plants operational. I know that you are looking forward to seeing this completed. We can all see the finish line, and we will get there together. We also continue to progress with the final stages of our construction. Sites 1 and 5 along 33rd Avenue Northwest will be paved on Saturday. However, that work is weather dependent. 33rd Avenue Northwest, west of 83rd Street, will open mid to late next week. 33rd Avenue Northwest, east of 83rd Street, is now open. And along 16th Avenue Northwest, intermittent lane closures are in place as needed to complete concrete curb work and to bring back the feeder main into service. Yesterday, I mentioned next steps after this phase of work has been completed. Our teams are preparing for some additional repairs on a narrower section of the feeder main in October and November. These repairs will happen further east along Memorial Drive in Parkdale. We don't anticipate any water restrictions during this phase of work. In the coming weeks, crews will be in the area to identify the exact locations of the pipe repairs. This provides essential information to delineate the specific work sites and develop our construction plan. More information will be shared as surveying is completed and plans are finalized. Once we have finalized the locations for the repairs, we will be reaching out to directly affected residents and businesses to talk about any anticipated impacts. Now I would like to invite Dr. Rizzuti to the podium to take us through what we expect during the water quality testing.
Thank you, Director Bouchard. Today I'll be speaking about water quality as we approach the end of repairs to the Bearspaw South feeder main. Alberta Health Services works closely with the City of Calgary and Alberta Environment and Protected Areas to ensure drinking water meets or exceeds provincial and federal standards. The City of Calgary has excellent water quality history and a high-functioning accredited laboratory. As the City of Calgary undertook these repairs to the Bearspaw South feeder main, AHS collaborated with the City of Calgary and EPA to monitor water quality through each step of the repairs and co-develop a filling and testing plan that ensures water is safe to consume and there's no impact to public health. Preliminary test results during the construction phase of the repair have returned and affirmed that there was no infiltration and no seepage that entered into the pipe during repair work. To ensure adequate disinfection of the pipe, the water used to fill the water main had elevated chlorine levels. During filling of the feeder main, multiple water quality samples have been collected. These were collected at multiple locations and at multiple times throughout the fill. Additional samples will be collected at the end of the fill. These samples are being tested at the City of Calgary's water lab, and the results are being reviewed by both AHS and EPA. These samples will assess for turbidity, how clear the water is, residual chlorine to ensure adequate disinfection, as well as specific bacterial tests that can cause illness. We're also going to be testing all the chemical properties of the water. The feeder main will return to service only if these water quality tests meet or exceeds these thresholds determined by AHS, EPA, and the City of Calgary as part of the return to service plan. Should test results not meet these thresholds, there will be turnover of the line and additional testing would be undertaken prior to returning the feeder main to service. The priority during the filling and testing stages is to ensure that water is safe to consume and that there's no impact to public health. Thank you so much, and now I will pass it back to Director Bouchard.
Thank you. I want to thank everyone again for your commendable constraint with water usage during our last few days of restrictions. Your actions are critical to getting us through the repairs. I look forward to updating you on our progress at 2 p.m. tomorrow. I will now turn things over to Jamie to field questions.
Any questions? Perhaps with you, sir. When we talk about water quality, that's scary. So, if the water quality isn't good, what kind of choice do we have, really?
So it's a great question. So water quality is something that Alberta Health Services works closely for any water treatment system. So whether it's the City of Calgary or any other large water distribution, AHS regularly works to ensure that water is safe. There's compliance testing that occurs on a regular basis. This ensures that these parameters I spoke of, so chlorine, turbidity, and any bacteriologic testings meet standards. If we do not, Alberta Health Services will issue a boil water advisory. And so we work very closely to make sure that these standards are met and with the City of Calgary, and there's a plan in place that should any of these parameters come back not to our standards, there will be additional flushing and testing before the line's allowed to go back into service.
How likely is it that the standards aren't met the first time?
Based off of what we have lots of data points. So we've been watching as we're filling the pipe and we looked at the data we had over the summer. Typically, City of Calgary water is very high quality, meets or exceeds these standards. And in rare occasions, we do have a sample that may come back not compliant. We'll retest. If it's still not compliant, we'll issue boil water. That is very rare. The City of Calgary has high quality drinking water. Over the summer, we had over 20,000 data points that we looked at as part of that filling test, and the vast majority of these all exceeded the standards and thresholds. All of these data points reassured us multiple times throughout the filling and opening that water was safe to consume. As we're going through this phase of repairs, we have similar large volumes of data points that we're monitoring, making sure that turbidity, residual chlorine, and other tests are meeting or exceeding these standards. At this point, based off of the preliminary data, there's nothing so far to suggest that we would not expect water thresholds and standards to be met at the time of opening this line.
If I could also add to that, I want to reassure Calgarians and all customers that the line does not go back into service until we meet those water quality standards. So if we were to fail a test, it's not opening the system up and putting at risk the rest of the system. It's flushing, so letting some of that water out, continuing to do high doses of chlorine, and ensuring that we meet the water quality tests before the line gets back into service. And until that line is back in service, there's no risk to any water users in our system.
So you're just telling us about what procedures you're doing. There's nothing to be alarmed about.
It is a process that we go through regularly when we do repairs to our system. We have to return it back into service, and part of that process is ensuring that water quality standards are met or exceeded before that part of the infrastructure is returned back into service.
Any other questions? All right, we will see you tomorrow, 2 p.m. at the Water Center. Thank you.
Thank you as always.